Is it possible that in the Monsterverse, some of the most bizarre natural phenomena are actually the work of titans? Across the world, there are pockets of strange occurrences and unexplained mysteries that remain perpetually unsolved. In the Monsterverse though, we know that there are a wide array of titans which continually roam not just the surface of the planet, but the catacombs of the Hollow Earth as well. And today, Heralds of the Titans, let's discuss whether or not some particularly mischievous titans have been responsible for disappearances and unexplained mysteries from across the world. Perhaps one of the most well-known regions of the mysterious activity is the Bermuda Triangle, the section of the Caribbean which is fabled to consume any and all ships or planes that pass through it. According to the legend, the Bermuda Triangle is a vortex of mysterious energy that will consume trespassers, though the exact reason why is unknown, but it is possible that this piece of the ocean is actually the territory of a mighty titan. If so, who is responsible for these mysterious disappearances? In order to crack this case open, we have to put together what we know about the Bermuda Triangle. First, we know that it does not discriminate between planes and ships, so it has to be a titan that can disturb both equally. The Naval Research Library reports that weather patterns within the triangle can produce powerful electrical storms, which disturb communication systems and other electronics on board. So if we're going to narrow our search into the Monsterverse, then we are looking for a titan who has both land and sea reach and can also produce electric jolts. For our first candidate, let's talk about the Titanus Kraken, which has inspired the legends and myths of the Kraken that we see from across history. This titan is an incredibly territorial and violent sea titan who will immediately slaughter trespassers if they encroach on his territory. The Kraken has had the reach to take down planes as well as boats, and even has a few electrical abilities that could explain the communication interference that many Navy ships report. Its tentacles are able to produce electric shocks and emit electromagnetic energy, and this electrical output is actually venomous in nature. Even if a human can survive the initial shock, the after effects cause humans to slowly deteriorate over time. So if a pilot or ship captain was attacked by the Kraken, then they might think that they've escaped before succumbing to their poisoning and dying in the pilot's seat. At first, the Kraken seems like a worthy candidate for the Bermuda Triangle monster. However, we do know that Titanus Kraken was once awakened by the presence of a scent of Kong's blood. He awoke and made his way to Skull Island at some intermediate point before the events of the Skull Island film. The Kraken then terrorized the human colonies on Skull Island, and following the climactic encounter between himself and Kong, we know that he was ripped in half by the Great Ape. This means that if any ships have disappeared from the Bermuda Triangle within the last 50 years or so, then this can't be the territory of the Kraken any longer, or else it would not be safe. While we can't say this for sure in the Monsterverse, we do know that here in the real world that this is very much not the case. So now, let's talk about the next titan that it could be, the Titanus Leviathan. We know that the monster, which is Titanus Leviathan, takes the most direct inspiration from the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland. And in the Monsterverse, Leviathan was actually been spotted several times in Scotland and the surrounding area. What's interesting about the Leviathan though, is that he has access to the Hollow Earth tunnels and routinely travels around the planet. While Loch Ness is one of the favorite hideaways, it doesn't mean that this is his only territory and only reach. Godzilla himself has a network of different bases and safe houses positioned across the planet for him to use, so who is to say that the Leviathan is any different? So far as we know in the lore, the Leviathan is still alive in the Monsterverse, and therefore, it's conceivable that he could be responsible for the Bermuda Triangle. But with this, there is one problem that needs to be addressed. While little is known about the Leviathan at this point, we know so far, the Leviathan, so far as we can tell, does not have any electrical abilities. Some titans can create statically charged atmospheres with their very presence, so we won't rule him out entirely yet. But it is important to note that the Leviathan hasn't demonstrated any sort of electric or energy-based powers. So then, where else can we look? What other aquatic titans may call the Bermuda Triangle their territory? This leads us to the candidate who we believe is most likely to be the territorial entity protecting the triangle, and it's actually a titan that we recently saw in Godzilla x Kong. We are of course talking about Titanus Scylla, and the reason why we specifically point to her is due to her history. In the Monsterverse, we know that Titan history coexists with human mythology, and that several stories from various mythologies are based off of the Titans. In ancient Greece legend, the monster known as Scylla does exist as we are describing, which is consuming sailors in the sea if they get too close to her domain. When a Greek sailor is lost to the Mediterranean, One of the most prominent possibilities that the ancient Greek people would point to and attribute to is Scylla herself. Upon first meeting Scylla, we learn that she is being studied by Monarch in Sedona, Arizona. This is not specified exactly how long she has been there though, and how long Scylla has been in confinement. We do know though that there is a considerable gap between Bermuda and of course Arizona, but we also know that the Bermuda Triangle had mass disappearances between 2005 and 2015, and although this doesn't exactly line up with the timeline proposed in the Monsterverse, a few retcons could certainly make Scylla into a prime candidate. In June of 2005, a Piper PA-23 was reported missing during the Treasure Cay Island in the Bahamas and Fort Pierce, Florida. But the next disappearance reported in the Bermuda Triangle didn't take place until after a small fishing boat carrying a 14-year-old Austin Stephanos and Perry Cohen washed ashore in Bermuda after the boys were declared missing. These disappearances took place in 2015, which would mean that Scylla would still be in captivity, but it only takes a minor deviation from the real-world events to make this work out. In 2019, Ghidorah unleashed the Call of the Alpha and caused Scylla to stir, eventually escaping. But what's more important is that Scylla has been shown to possess low-level electromagnetic interference. Scylla can produce a dense, irradiated fog pollutant to blind her opposition and result in interference, meaning that her presence could very well have disturbed navigation systems. Since she is dead though, and if our theory today is true, Godzilla may have actually made the Bermuda Triangle all the more safe, and the pieces seem to be there. As we know, it is in Scylla's nature to defend herself from sea sailors, as evidenced by her behavior in ancient Greece. She has the reach and ability to capture both boats as well as planes alike, and her imprisonment seems to loosely line up with actual Bermuda Triangle disappearances, which may or may not actually correspond with the Monsterverse counterpart. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this theory? Have we found the monster of the Bermuda Triangle in the Monsterverse? And if not, what Titan do you think it could be, if it is a Titan? Is there a Titan guarding the Bermuda Triangle at all, or are we entirely mistaken? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the channel today. Atomic blast that subscribe button, and have a great one.